Terra ground, Titan. Oh no. Oh, I didn't think of that. Anyone know what Titan's most common Terra type is? It might be ground. I don't know. A little while ago, I made a video featuring Chalk, the classic team from Generation 6, way before I was ever playing VGC, centered on Kangaskhan, Heatran, I should do them in order, Cresselia, Heatran, Amoonguss, Landorus, Kangaskhan. That's how you spell out Chalk. And so I took those 6 Pokemon, definitely exactly those 6, nothing to question about that, and had some fun playing around with them on the Regulation G ladder. But now that we're in Regulation I can dust off a classic double restricted team. This one from a format that I did play myself. Rinya Sun was probably the most dominant team in all of Sword and Shield VGC. There was a stretch where it was winning every event. It wasn't a super long stretch, but I think it won a few events in a row. And it remained a very strong composition all the way through to 2022 Worlds. It did not win the tournament, but I think it had a lot of high placements, and certainly there were very strong players who had been refining it for a long time, bringing out their newest iterations, and going far in that tournament. So we're going to give Rinya Sun a try on the Regulation I ladder. Once again, conveniently enough, all of the relevant Pokemon are available in Scarlet and Violet, so we can go ahead and do that. But there is one problem, which is that the Rinya Sun composition of, as you can see here, Charizard, Groudon, Zacian, Incineroar, Grimmsnarl, and Gastrodon is very optimized to play in a Dynamax format. So let's have realistic expectations about how things will carry over. For one thing, the main offensive engine of this team a lot of the time is Charizard, but of course in Sword and Shield that was Gigantamax Charizard. So you were doubling its HP when you Gigantamaxed. And obviously, or not obviously, I meant to say often, they would run, toward the end of the format, they would run a Charty Berry so that they could even take a Rock-type attack while they were Gigantamaxed. And then you get speed boosts with Max Airstream. Any kind of flying type attack would, in addition to doing damage, also boost your team's speed, which brings some speed control to this team that it doesn't really have otherwise. And the big star of the show, of course, was G-Max Wildfire, the attack exclusive to Gigantamax Charizard that did massive damage, often even with something like Blast Burn as its base, because you don't have to worry about the drawbacks of that move when it's turned into a G-Max move. And then it also did passive damage to non-fire types over the next few turns. Zacian also was maybe the best restricted Pokemon in Sword and Shield because it was a valuable check to opposing Dynamax Pokemon, since Behemoth Blade did extra damage into them. Pokemon like Incineroar being very disruptive could be useful to dealing with Dynamaxed Pokemon. Same goes for Gastrodon because it got Yawn, which was very valuable for it in Sword and Shield because you could pressure switches, and if you switched your opponent switched their Dynamax Pokemon out, then their Dynamax was just gone for the rest of the game. But also Pokemon like Palkia and Kyogre, if they Dynamaxed, Palkia doesn't run a spread water type attack usually anyway, but Kyogre does. If they Dynamax, they don't have that spread damage anymore, and so Storm Drain was extremely valuable to redirecting water-type attacks away from Charizard, Groudon, Incineroar, even Zacian, right? Because it doesn't resist. So that team was very well optimized to win events in a Dynamax format. We're not going to be able to recreate that exactly here, but I am trying to sort of maintain the spirit of it with this very aggressive Charizard. Life Orb, Solar Power, Terra Fire, looking to just blast things with powerful heat waves. Again, there is kind of a lack of speed control here. I checked and Charizard doesn't learn Tailwind. I was originally planning to run that. I don't know why it doesn't. Most winged Pokemon do now. But that's why I felt like Grimmsnarl running Thunder Wave was especially mandatory. Grimmsnarl ran Thunder Wave more often in Sword and Shield anyway than it does in Scarlet and Violet, but I definitely didn't feel like I could drop that. And I do also have Icy Wind on the Gastrodon, so there's no Tailwind on this team and there's no Trick Room, but there may be some measure of speed control still available. Grimmsnarl also is a little bit more optimized to support Dynamax Pokemon because the screens in combination with their HP doubling helps them out a lot, but screens are still very valuable. Maybe less so for Charizard, but certainly that plus Thunder Wave can help Groudon to set up and get going in some matchups. Incineroar is still very strong, and it still checks things like Ice Rider, Calyrex, so some of the basic pieces of this team should work pretty well, but yeah, we are just going to try to blast through things with Charizard. It's not going to play exactly like it did in Sword and Shield. If you ever get a chance to go back and explore those formats, let me tell you, Gigantamax Charizard was an absolute menace and well worth checking out. I'm going to do the awkward cut to Showdown because I forgot to change my Gastrodon to the good form. And I think I am gonna drop Recover for Yawn as well, but then we'll get into the battles. Yeah, I do now have Yawn on the Gastrodon instead of Recover. Learning my lesson, I guess, from PDL week 1. This is definitely going up after that, right? So first game, we got Koraidon Shadow Rider. I don't remember facing this Pokemon in Sword and Shield, nor this one. They have a Hitmontop too. I guess Wide Guard is pretty valuable these days. I was going to say I don't really have spread moves on this team, but I do. I have Precipice Blades, and I have Heat Wave on Charizard, but I also have Flamethrower to get past Wide Guards. But this is what I'm talking about, right? They have faster Pokemon, and they have Tailwind. It might be helpful if Charizard got Tailwind, but even that would probably not be enough. Why doesn't Charizard learn Tailwind, though? That said, Incineroar is... it's tricky, right? Terra Ghost and Incineroar is individually strong into each of their restricteds, but there's not really one single way that I can make it match up well into both of them. But I think leading Grimmsnarl and Incineroar is not the worst thing here. Right? I can start going for screens. I can start clicking Parting Shot with potentially both of them. And I could look to get Groudon in and set that up. And honestly, I'm not even sure whether I want to bring Zacian into this game. I probably should, but... I mean, I don't really need Gastrodon here. I don't think this is a Charizard game. I think Charizard games might be hard to find, but hopefully we'll find some. Well, if I'm not bringing one of those, then I guess I'm bringing Zacian. Okay, they lead Hitmontop and Koraidon. So again, I want to be careful about terrestrializing my Incineroar because that makes it match up significantly better into Koraidon, but a heck of a lot worse into Shadow Rider Calyrex. It's not Clear Amulet Koraidon. I mean, that's not that crazy now after Wolf Glick popularized Life Orb, but it's good to know. The Koraidon has taken an Intimidate. I think I'm just going to target a Parting Shot into that slot and hope it works out, and I'm going to Reflect. Of course, they can fake one of my Pokemon out, but I don't know which one they're more likely to pick in this position. And I'm just going to leave it up to them, to an extent. They switch Koraidon out for their Incineroar. That's okay. They could have Flare Blitz on a team like this, because the thing about running Flare Blitz on Incineroar is Incineroar is not super strong, but on the Sun team, that damage boost really comes in handy for it. But I think I want to go Groudon here, because I can Terra Fire to cover for a Will-O-Wisp. And I'm really not in the worst position to Swords Dance, especially with Clear Amulet on the Groudon. And yeah, getting the Parting Shot into their Incineroar, that was my point. Reducing Incineroar's damage is not that important, but it actually could be if they start throwing off Flare Blitzes. But we're going to discourage that here. We're going to Terra Fire Swords Dance. We still get the Rainbow effect when we Terra. I really did think that was part of the April Fool's Day bit, because I first saw it on that day, but it's neat that it's not. And I'll go for that Reflect now. They Wide Guard, but yeah, I mean, I'm not going to click Precipice Blades in front of this Hitmontop. They knock off into Grimmsnarl instead of Groudon. You'd think Groudon would be the more valuable target for that. But I'm going to take the opportunity to Heat Crash Hitmontop. It could be Sashed, but I don't have an attack on this Grimmsnarl because I just didn't find room for one, so... hopefully it's not Sashed. It's not the end of the world, I think, if it is. But if they knock off Groudon here, that's a little bit more awkward. But with the Swords Dance already set up, I can probably make it work. Anyway, might as well grab a Light Screen. I don't know whether I'll be needing it in this game, but it's nice to have in case I do. And it's not Sash Hitmontop, it's just knocked out. Rocky Helmet, okay. They get the knockoff into Groudon, but Groudon feels pretty well positioned. I think it's going to be hard for them to intimidate through it. Especially, so they go Shadow Rider here. They don't have Wide Guard on the board. I can just click Precipice Blades. Yes, I have to hit, but that's how it goes with Groudon. But also, I can Thunder Wave the Calyrex. Okay, it protects. I reveal Thunder Wave, but still, what's their answer to it? I mean, honestly, they might have hoped that Incineroar would go down there. This works too. This is actually preferable for them, but the point is, they get Koraidon in. I can't Thunder Wave both of their restricteds in the same turn. Groudon is more physically bulky than specially bulky. So I'm going to Precipice Blades and Thunder Wave Calyrex just like last turn. They switch it out to Incineroar. Okay, I guess I could have Thunder Wave Koraidon there. But they are... They've got my Groudon down to +0. Another Parting Shot makes it -1. I guess I'll get a Swords Dance here. And I can actually click Parting Shot into their Koraidon and then go out to my Incineroar and get an Intimidate as well, instead of messing around with this Thunder Wave stuff. It makes me a bit vulnerable to their Calyrex, but then they haven't Terra'd yet. I could potentially do something with Incineroar to their Calyrex. Landing a Thunder Wave would be nice, though, for Zacian in the back, but I think I'm going to do what I said there, Swords Dance and Parting Shot Koraidon. We know it doesn't have a clear amulet. Yeah, and I'll get Incineroar in. Having Incineroar on the board also gives me that little bit more threat into Shadow Rider if they bring it back in. That's sort of what I meant to be implying a moment ago. They Parting Shoot Groudon. Okay, yeah, that's not surprising. This is tricky, though, the way they've played it, because if they just... I want to just click Knockoff into Calyrex, but they could see that coming in Terra or Protect. But... Oh, and I'm about to run out of Light Screen, too, because I didn't have the Light Clay anymore. So I think I'm actually going to target a Parting Shot into Calyrex instead of a Knockoff. They switch Groudon out. They're doing a good job of getting rid of my... playing around my Swords Dance. Honestly, too good a job. I don't know that I can preserve Groudon here. I'm going to click Precipice Blades in case Groudon gets a chance to attack, and I'm going to click Knock. They can Fake Out. I'm going to double Protect. Yeah, I mean, it's not great odds to work, but I think that's what we're reduced to here. If I just landed that Precipice Blades into their Incineroar earlier... But I can't complain too much, right? Because that's just how using Groudon goes. But I don't think... I don't even have my Terra available for Zacian anymore. I needed Groudon to get more KOs than just the Hitmontop. I think I probably lose now. I'm gonna try not to. I'll go Zacian here. I could play rough the Incineroar slot and pin that. I really don't hate that option. Because I can either Thunder Wave Calyrex or set Light Screen. I think Light Screen first. Yeah, so if I catch Koraidon with this play rough on the Switch, I mean, that's the kind of thing I need to get back into this game. Okay, and it does work out. They can Intimidate Zacian one more time, but that's it. And its attack is still so high. I'll try to Thunder Wave the Calyrex here. They Fake Out Grimmsnarl. That's fine. It doesn't have Protect, so... You know, what can you do? This was open team sheet the whole time, wasn't it? And I just forgot and have been drawing inferences from what I see as if I'm playing closed team sheet. Okay, here I'm going to try to Thunder Wave Calyrex, and I'm going to go for Sacred Sword into Incineroar so that it can't keep nerfing my Zacian's damage. Do finally land a Thunder Wave. Knock out Incineroar. Now I just have to beat the Calyrex. Astral Barrage doesn't do a whole lot of damage. And Grimmsnarl doesn't really have anything to do except click Parting Shot now. And Zacian play rough into Calyrex, but yeah, they forfeit. Alright, so other than me forgetting that was open team sheet, I think that one went pretty well. But a solid effort by my opponent in the middle game there. They definitely had me worried when Groudon wasn't accomplishing a whole lot. But this is the power of this restricted duo, right? I've heard... It's still early days in Reg I, and I've only played a little bit. I've heard that Zacian is really thriving right now because it's just so strong, and you still have another restricted slot. There's not the same opportunity cost to using it that there was in Reg G. And you saw that Grimmsnarl support helping Zacian to put in a ton of work there. Here we got one of those double bike teams that people are running these days. But this one also has a serious Trick Room component. I don't know how to attack this. I mean... Groudon looks pretty strong. The Cresselia is maybe an issue for it, but... Can I do Charizard stuff in this game? The problem is, you know, how does Charizard not just lose to Miraidon? Can I lead Incineroar Charizard? Then I don't have Sun. So I think if I bring Charizard, it has to be in the back, and I don't know that I do bring Charizard to this one. I don't think I need Gastrodon here. I like Incineroar lead again. Incineroar Grimmsnarl lead might be solid, or Incineroar Groudon. I'm going to mix it up a little bit and do Incineroar, Groudon. I might regret not bringing Grimmsnarl, but I want to get Charizard to a game at some point, so we're going to give this a go. Daily, Koraidon, Cresselia. So Cresselia is the biggest problem for Groudon. This one is Clear Amulet Koraidon as well. I think I want to just go straight for a Swords Dance. Maybe I Terra Fire in case they throw off an Ice type attack, but Cresselia is not that strong. I might want to Terra Fire next turn anyway, but for this turn I'll just Swords Dance and fake out Koraidon. Okay, they let me do that. Icy Wind, okay. I mean, Groudon's going to be slower than their restricteds anyway. I'll Terra Fire here so that I can take a Flare Blitz and an Icy Wind somewhat better. I'll click Precipice Blades. It doesn't hit Cresselia, but, I mean, getting that damage into Koraidon is plenty good. And I think I want to knock off Cresselia. Koraidon might take the KO on my Incineroar is the only thing. I can switch it out to Charizard. I don't really want Charizard to take an Icy Wind. I can Terra Ghost, but I'm not sure I want to commit my Terra to that. I think I will make the switch to Charizard. Honestly, if I end up just kind of sacking Charizard, that's not the end of the world. That close combat did so much. But it gets KO'd back by the Precipice Blades. Actually, the problem with Terrasolizing Groudon here is if they brought the Miraidon, I don't have that immunity anymore. I'm also now weak to Ursaluna. So they're probably going to protect Ursaluna to get their Flame Orb. I'm just going to try to remove the Cresselia if I can. Yeah, that was kind of a reckless Terra Fire. I didn't think that all the way through. Especially once I figured out that Koraidon was likely to attack Incineroar. Then the main thing I was worried about, which was Flare Blitz, I didn't have to worry about anymore. Also, they were always fairly likely to click close combat, so I don't like that I Terra'd there. They actually just attack and into Charizard. So I got that turn completely wrong. Now they get their burn. I can get Incineroar in and get an Intimidate, but I really don't know how I survive these Trick Room turns. I mean, if Groudon... So it is -1 Ursaluna. It is burned. It is -1. I'm going to Protect Groudon this turn in case their Miraidon has Protect. And I'm going to go for Parting Shot into Ursaluna, I think. They'll probably not let me. They actually protect it. Okay. But the thing about Trick Room being up is, yeah, so if Groudon can just take a hit from Ursaluna, which is a big if, it would have been really cool if I'd pivoted Zacian in there and then Intimidated, but I didn't think that they would protect with both of their Pokemon in their own Trick Room. But if Groudon can survive Ursaluna somehow... I was threatening Fake Out, that's why they did that. Then I can knock out Miraidon. I suspect that's not going to work out, though. Terra Fairy, Earthquake. Okay, Groudon does take the attack. I get the Parting Shot into Ursaluna. Can I knock out Miraidon here? So that Zacian doesn't have to take something, like a Discharge or... Okay, good. Knock out Miraidon. That should be a win then. I just have to get through the Trick Room, but this is the last turn, so I can just protect both of my guys, and then I overwhelm Ursaluna in the endgame. So there was a lot wrong with the way that I played this one, but it still worked out in the end. And obviously I'm being a little bit silly here with this Gen 8 team, just ported over, but... I mean, you can kind of see why these Pokemon dominated Sword and Shield events for a little while. Even though they're not as perfectly optimized for this meta, they're still so strong. Charizard, not as much as it used to be, but... Okay, we got a Galarian Weezing team. I have a lot of threats into it, but I have to think about how to make the best use of them. Because I kind of don't want to just throw Grimmsnarl, Incineroar stuff out there in the lead position, because with Neutralizing Gas, I'm just not well positioned into that. I probably want to threaten a KO into Weezing with something like Behemoth Blade, Precipice Blades, maybe even a Charizard attack. But I want to lead with at least one of those three Pokemon, I think. I could do Grimmsnarl lead anyway, actually. I get Fake Out. I have nothing but bulk investment on this Grimmsnarl because it has no attacks, so I might still be able to get some screens up. Or I could bring Gastrodon to this one and threaten the Earth Power into Weezing, Raging Bolt, and Zamazenta. I actually don't hate that. Gastrodon and Whom. Also have Yawn Pressure into Wheezing, so they can't necessarily just park it on the field forever. I could do Groudon Gastrodon. Honestly, let's just bring Zacian and Charizard. Let's just leave most of the support behind and see what happens. So they lead Zamazenta Wheezing. Okay. 2 ground weaknesses. We'll probably see them Terra one of them. And that will be informative. I'm going to protect Groudon. I kind of want a Terra Fire Swords Dance, but again, I don't want to be too reckless with my Terra, so we're going to see if the Weezing goes for a Will-O-Wisp or something. Actually, the Weezing might just protect. It might be worth it to just Terra Fire Swords Dance. Yeah, probably not Terrestrialize Exhaustion in this game. I think I'm okay with it. And that more aggressive play, you know, if they do something passive like protecting the Weezing, that could be rewarded. Even if the Terra turns out to be unnecessary. They don't protect Weezing. Poison Gas, okay. Okay, so Groudon has a shelf life now, but how much does Heat Crash do to Zamazenta? It's only 40 base power, but it is super effective. But I think we Heat Crash Weezing here. I don't know that it'll stay in even. Or I could protect here, because if they're gonna protect Weezing, this would seem to be the time for it. But I'm just feeling the aggression right now. I'm gonna Heat Crash Weezing and Earth. I'm gonna Heat Crash Weezing and I could Yawn Zamazenta. That's Earth Power. Okay, it protects. That of course has a chance to fail after you use Wide Guard, but it didn't fail this time. Who's coming in? Shadow Rider could be a problem here. Because I didn't bring my Dark type or my Thunder Wave, and I mean, I guess this is how this kind of Shadow Rider team works, right? They poison my Pokemon, wear them down a bit, and then it can clean up with Astral Barrage. I'm not at all upset to see Rapid Strike or Shifu, though. Of course, they can't Surging Strike my Groudon because Gastrodon is next to it. It is a little bit awkward that it resists the Heat Crash, and I still can't very safely Precipice Blades, but I'll just go for a Heat Crash into Urshifu anyway, and I'm still down to Earth Power the Zamazenta. They switched it out to Dragonite, okay. But they didn't know. They went for Surging Strikes. Unfortunately, I'm not going to get boosted damage on anything because they switched in an immunity, but yeah, that's the Storm Drain for you. Do we think that Urshifu is locked in to Surging Strikes? Lol, true. I'm going to Heat Crash this slot, thinking that Urshifu might switch out. I'm going to Icy Wind. Maybe Dragonite takes a KO on something before I get to do that. I don't know. I don't know. I'm doing what I can here. Paranormal, Extreme Speed, knocks out Groudon. Okay. But they just Surging Strike into Gastrodon again, so now I'm at +2. I also crit the Dragonite with Icy Wind. But they get Zamazenta back now. Do I want to go Charizard? It could be Banded Dragonite. In which case Zacian might just kind of clean up. I'm going to go Charizard because I think I can win with Zacian in the back, so might as well see if I can do more damage before we get to that position. Go straight for a Flamethrower into Zamazenta and an Earth Power into Zamazenta. Dragonite, if it wants to KO my Pokemon, can't get both of them. Maybe it and Zacian can together. I mean, maybe Dragonite one-shots Charizard. They just protect Zamazenta. Okay. And when I said Zacian, I meant Zamazenta. Alright, so kind of a nothing turn there, but I still might be able to just win with Zacian. It is tricky because they can Extreme Speed Gastrodon. But we'll try. They went for a double protect, failed, but they do knock out Gastrodon, but now I get a Sacred Sword, which does a lot to Zamazenta. I'll protect here, because I think Zamazenta will protect, but the goal is just knock it out, and then, you know, hopefully take little enough damage from the Extreme Speed that I can knock Dragonite out after that. They do protect Zamazenta. They got, I mean, who am I to talk? I do this all the time, but they got a little bit predictable with those protects there. That's something that I have some trouble with too, like I said. But yeah, okay. Looks like Extreme Speed is approximately a 3-hit KO, so as long as this Sacred Sword knocks out the Dragonite, we should be good. Yep, perfect. No Incineroar, no Grimmsnarl, no problem in this game. Another Shadow Rider Zamazenta team. This is super scary, though. This looks like the one that I used in my first Reg-Eye video, actually. Probably revisit that one at some point. I feel like there are ways to improve it, but it's a pretty scary starting point for this format. Early game Groudon stuff I've really been enjoying. And this team doesn't super punish a Terra Fire, so I could rip that pretty aggressively against Pokemon like Chien-Pao and Rillaboom. Go for my Sword Stances. Lead that with maybe Grimmsnarl, but honestly Incineroar might be best here because so much of their team is weak to Intimidate or Knockoff. Groudon Incineroar lead, bring Grimmsnarl on the back, and honestly this might be the Charizard game. But I probably... the responsible thing is probably to bring Zacian. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Charizard is definitely a little bit of an outlier in terms of how well it holds up in this format on this team. They can fake me out. I think if they will, it's into Groudon. And I'm just going to go straight for a knockoff into Calyrex. If I force their Terra, that's not the worst thing, I think. Yeah, they do fake out Groudon. They don't Terra. That's substitute Calyrex. Okay, well, I'm glad I attacked it. That makes me want to keep just attacking. Right? Maybe Heat Crash Flare Blitz, because I think there will be some... Terra Fire. Heat Crash Flare Blitz, because I think there will be some kind of Terra coming from the Calyrex now. If they leave it in at all. But if not... I mean, this does a ton to Zamazenta on the switch in, or Chien-Pao. If they do leave it in, they actually just Astral Barrage. Knock it out with a Heat Crash crit. That means we get the Flare Blitz into Rillaboom. Nice. And who are their last two? Zamazenta, Chien-Pao. So I'm looking to beat those realistically with Zacian and Incineroar. I probably want to get Incineroar out here and sack Grimmsnarl so I can get an Intimidate into these. I'm going to protect Groudon this turn. And yeah, I'm going to switch to Grimmsnarl. They might just knock it out, but the point is to get Incineroar off the field. And the way this game has gone so far, I probably don't need to be playing around with screens. I will take the opportunity, though, to set a Reflect while I have it. I mean, why not? Break a possible Focus Sash on the POW. They probably just knock Groudon out before it gets to attack, but, you know, we'll try. Yeah, they just Sucker Punch it. Okay, fair enough. Now, I have Reflect up. I don't know that Zacian solos this, but that's the goal. I'll fake out into Chien-Pao, but I think it might protect, so I'll use Zacian's action to Sacred Sword Zamazenta. It does protect, okay. Oh, they both protect. Oh, fair enough. The Chien-Pao probably having a Focus Sash is a little bit of an issue here. I also don't have Sun anymore. Let's see if they let me have this Flare Blitz Sacred Sword double up. Oh, it's Terra Ghost Zamazenta. That's smart, and I feel like I haven't seen Terra Ghost Zamazenta before. I mean, it has a lot of different Terra types it can run. Yeah, Ghost is super smart. Will they let me do this? I think I lose anyway, but if they focus on attacking Zacian here, I'll get some amount of chip into Zamazenta. I can't remove its item, and it's at +1 defense, so yeah, I knew that wasn't going to do a ton. And now, there's no way they let Incineroar get an attack into Chien-Pao, but we'll try. Still not quite enough to knock out the Zamazenta, and yeah, Incineroar's not sweeping this, but I certainly gave it an effort. Alright, let's get another one. I don't know how much longer I'll go with this video. Usually I play until I lose 3 games, but we'll see how the next one goes and whether I want to keep going after that. This is some Mimikyu, Trick Room Me, Ice Rider, Kyogre stuff. This is the first Kyogre of the video, isn't it? We haven't seen how that goes yet. I actually kind of like Charizard here because I can threaten Rillaboom and Ice Rider immediately. Or Mimikyu and Ice Rider. Actually, Rillaboom and Ice Rider not so much because of Fake Out pressure. I could do Charizard and Incineroar lead, Groudon in the back for weather control, and then probably just bring Zacian. It feels a little bit silly to not bring Gastrodon to this, but we're experimenting here. That's my excuse. Okay, Ice Rider Mimikyu. Okay. Alright. So I can switch to Groudon and Heat Wave. Obviously that is only one attack, so it breaks Mimikyu's disguise, but it doesn't deny Trick Room. But it does put a lot of pressure into Calyrex. I can Heat Wave, Flare Blitz Mimikyu. I feel like if you're running Mimikyu on this kind of team, you want it specifically to set Trick Room a lot of the time. So I think that's my best chance of maybe denying Trick Room. So I'm going to do it. Heat Wave misses the Calyrex. I really don't like to see that. I don't think this is knocking out Mimikyu. No. Alright, kind of a silly idea, I guess. They get their Trick Room here? Yep. I honestly think I want to Terra Fire Charizard here so that it will resist a Glacial Lance. They could probably just double into it, but honestly, I'm going to try it because I think I'm kind of cooked otherwise. And they're not going to let me do this, but there's nobody I want to switch in. If they actually let me land this Terra Fire Heat Wave, they switched to Kyogre. Boo. Well, the other part of the plan worked, though. And you know, I do get... Well, Charizard's now weak to the high horsepower, so it doesn't really matter. Even if I get Groudon in here and get a triple protect with Charizard, it's still taking solar power damage through that. And I don't have the Terra Water available for Zacian anymore. I think I have to go Groudon anyway and try to stall it out as much as I can and then just sweep them with Zacian, but really I lose this. Okay. What an exciting turn. Guess what? We're doing it again. 1 in 9 chance that either one of them gets a triple protect. Although I guess I don't really need a triple. Getting a double there on both, wow, is already really good. Alright, is one of them going to get the triple? You know what? I'll try for it on Charizard, but on Groudon I can actually just click Precipice Blades here. Because we're in Sun. Yeah. Destiny. Oh, interesting. Okay, so they got rid of Groudon that way. It's honestly maybe not impossible if their last Pokemon is Rillaboom. But even then. Yeah, they have high horsepower, actually. It's probably impossible. We're definitely not beating this. Sacred Sword into Ursaluna. Crit. Dodge Origin Pulse. Nope. Well, that was my out. Alright, well, I got at least one more. An Ambipom and a Satitan. Okay. Alright. We're gaming here. Ambipom, though. Well, we know from the PDL that Pokemon can be kind of scary. I think the Incineroar Grimmsnarl lead is probably okay here. And just bring my Restricteds. I actually don't hate Charizard in this matchup, comparatively. But, yeah, we'll just do this. The Titan Ambipom lead. They really want that belly drum, I guess. Well, what's neat about this is that both of my Pokemon have Fake Out, so whichever one Ambipom fakes out, the other one can... Nope, I don't have Fake Out on Grimmsnarl. Never mind. I have Thunder Wave. And I have Reflect. Okay, they Fake Out Incineroar, so they'll get their belly drum. But Thunderwave into Flare Blitz. I feel like there are ways to stop that. This might be one of them. Yeah, they protect. If I can get Groudon on the field somehow. And I'm kind of gaming. It honestly might be worth just hard switching it in here and taking the risk that it gets knocked out, but man, I want this Flare Blitz if I can get it, right? Terra Ground, Titan. Oh no. Oh, I didn't think of that. Anyone know what Titan's most common Terra type is? It might be ground. I don't know. Oh no. I can go Zacian. And then here's the play. Behemoth Blade Titan. Parting Shot Titan. No, I'm looking to KO Titan here, so just Parting Shot Ninetales. Get Groudon and turn off their snow. Zacian's faster than Titan. Yep. That part worked. Oh, we denied Aurora Veil too. Nice. And who's coming in? They only have maximum one of their restricteds. I think I'd rather see the Ice Rider. But we won't find out just yet. They can't fake out both of my Pokemon. I'm getting the Sword Stance, or I'm getting rid of this Ninetales, or I'm getting rid of this Calyrex. One of those things is happening. They fake out Zacian. Okay. But they have Terra'd, so Behemoth Blade, Precipice Blades. Okay, we catch Ninetales on the switch in. They do get Snow back, but what are they doing with it at this point? They are getting the defense boost on their Calyrex, but I don't think it's going to matter here. Oh, triple Axle on the Ambipom, but it doesn't look like it KOs. Nope. Ambipom's gone. And yeah, I don't think the Ice Rider is cleaning this one up by itself, even with that defense buff. We actually land Precipice Blades, and that's GG. I'll play until I lose one more. So I'm at 2 losses now. Okay, this is some scary stuff. That's what it is. They agreed to open team sheets, so it feels polite if I do likewise. This time, let's remember that the game is open team sheet and not just keep playing it like it's closed. Specs Miraidon, Terra Fairy, Sash Shadow Rider, and this one has Encore instead of something like Nasty Plot. That's scary. Salt Fast Iron Hands, Scarf Chiyu, Electric Seed for Igraf, Imprisoned Trick Room, but I'm not running Trick Room, so that's fine. Their Whimsicott is Helping Hand. I'm in danger. Especially, I can't even Thunder Wave them if they have the Farigiraf. Oh dear. I'm gonna lead these guys and try to create a favorable position for these guys. We're defaulting back to that game plan. Calyrex, Whimsicott. Yeah, no surprise there. At least I have my Astral Barrage resists on the board. Another Sword and Shield tech right there. There was a long stretch in Sword and Shield restricted formats where I felt like I always felt like a Dark type was pretty much mandatory on a team back then, but there was a long stretch where I strongly preferred to have 2 Dark types. And that's what I have here. I think Light Screen instead of Thunder Wave, especially since they could switch in the Farigiraf. It's Terra Ghost Calyrex, so I can just target a knockoff into it. The other nice thing about these being Dark types is that the Whimsicott can't Encore them, even if it wants to. Okay, they get me right on. We knock off the Specs. That'll reduce its damage. I also can get a priority Parting Shot here with Grimmsnarl, and I think I'm just going to go for a Flare Blitz into Whimsicott. That ought to hit something hard, even if it's not Whimsicott itself, right? Yeah, well, we can Miraidon's damage however we can here. We have Light Screen up already. We've knocked off the Specs, so now I'm going for Parting Shot. Priority. Helping Hand. But there's the Parting Shot. I guess I'll go Groudon for the Electric immunity if they target that slot, and they do. Perfect. Knock out Whimsicott. I guess this lets Shadow Rider in. That's Chiyu instead. That's pretty dangerous. Honestly, Zacian doesn't feel that good here at this point, but I don't think Gastrodon or Charizard would feel any better. I can knock off the Scarf on the Chiyu. Is that valuable? I don't know. It might be better to Parting Shoot it. And I'm not going to mess around with Sword Stance right now, because I don't think Groudon's going to get to sit on the field all that long. I'm just going to go straight for Precipice Blades. Overheat Groudon, it just KOs through the light screen. You hate to see it. Volt Switch Miraidon out. But I get my Parting Shot into Chiyu. It's at -3 now. Of course, it can just switch back out to Miraidon. But Grimmsnarl, Incineroar, Parting Shot into Calyrex and Knockoff again. The Chiyu is really a non-threat. They could switch Miraidon into that slot, but if they do that, then they can't switch the Calyrex out. They could Protect. I also have to watch out for Calyrex Encore, because it's not Prankster boosted, so it does work on Dark types. The good news is all of Grimmsnarl's moves have priority, so it's safe from that. And I don't have to worry about it right now because my Pokemon just hit the field, but Incineroar does have to watch out for that some amount. Get Zacian here, not in a super safe position, but it's the only switch in I have. They just overheat, I was going to say Charizard, but it's Incineroar. Chiyu knocks itself to -4, but they crit Incineroar, and that's now the only Pokemon I have left with an attack, and we don't get the KO on Calyrex, so they still have an opportunity to switch Miraidon in. I think if they don't crit Zacian there, I think I said they crit Incineroar. I think if they don't crit Zacian there, then I'm actually in a good position, but, you know. I don't know, something about ifs, ands, and buts. I don't have the idiom in my head right now. Thunder Wave. Knock off. But of course I can't Thunder Wave this. If Zacian just didn't get crit there. I mean, I don't know what the damage would have been, but I'd feel so much better about the position. Alright, Incineroar, you're going to dodge Dazzling Gleam now. Dodge it! Nope. You're going to dodge a Dazzling Gleam. We're playing ZA over here. You can move around. Dodge that attack. Wonder if they said anything in chat. Sometimes people do when they get a crit. Nah. There's nothing wrong with it. That's the game. But what a way for the position to suddenly flip on its head, at least in my read of it. Maybe I was mistaken. But if Zacian, you know, if I have... That's like all of the offense that I had left just disappeared in an instant. I don't have any attacks left at this point. So I'm just going to forfeit. But that's the game we play. And you know what? Overall, in this video, Rinya Sun held up better than I expected. I got a decent number of wins, I think, in this one. And even though I talked a bunch at the beginning about how this team was optimized for Sword and Shield, and that definitely is true, and especially the Charizard really doesn't carry over very well. The other reason that it won a lot of events in a double restricted format in just the last generation is that it has a lot of really good Pokemon on it, and you can still definitely have some fun and make some things work with them. And I think that Incineroar, Grimmsnarl, in dedicated support roles, creating openings for powerful restricted attackers in the back, looked really effective in this video. And I don't know that exactly this will carry over to high-level play in Reg I, but I think there may be something to look at going forward. If I keep building teams in the format to actually try to compete in tournaments and whatnot. I don't know how I'm going to approach this format. I'm not planning to go to any events, so usually that means I don't play a format as seriously, but I don't know. I'm pretty inspired with Reg I right now. There are a lot of team ideas that I want to try out. And yeah, something like that framework of the support leads creating openings might be something to consider in the future, but I don't know. That was Rinya Sun. We're you know, dabbling a little bit in history again. More recent history than we have at some points, but still a lot of fun to look back. And if you ever look back and check out Sword and Shield formats, this team was really something.